As if the world wasn't Margaret Atwood coded enough, your personal library is about to become an endangered species. Amazon has recently announced that from the 26th of February, you will no longer be allowed to download your own books. Now, I haven't been a customer of Amazon for a very, very long time, but before that, I was an avid Kindle user, and I have, I want to say, about 300 books in the Amazon library that I've either read or have meant to read at some point, and I read them on my phone sometimes. And the idea that I will no longer have access to those as things that I have bought, which was the contract that I thought I was entering into with our dear Lord Jeff Bezos when I bought them, that contract is now changing. Imagine if you bought like a physical book, just any book. I just picked this one randomly from my shelves, The Handmaid's Tale. Imagine if you bought this book from a bricks and mortar store like Waterstones, and you owned it for like 6 years, and you read it and you loved it, and then one day there was a little knock on the door from a bookseller, and they were like, "We're going to need that back." How would you feel as a customer? Not even as a book lover, not even as a defender of rights, just as a customer. Wouldn't you be a bit like, why are you at my house? And why are you doing this? But Amazon are doing this. The function, I think, originally was more to do with the fact that you could download your books and then transfer them to your Kindle via USB. So they're taking away from that reason. But they're also very markedly moving towards a more access to information superhighway than a ownership model of buying information, because that's what books are. They're not just fun, they are beautiful stories, but they're also information. They're our collective history, our live hive thoughts of what is going on in the world. And I remember reading The Handmaid's Tale in ebook before I owned this copy and loving it, turning my Kindle off, turning it on a week later, and seeing that. And I'd also loved that there was a foreword in my original ebook that I can't remember who it was by, but it was a beautiful foreword. And I remember really thinking, I want to return to that foreword. That was beautiful. Turning my Kindle on a week later, and for me to be met not with the same cover that I originally had. It was a cover of Elizabeth Moss for the TV show, but also with a different foreword. And that was actually the beginning of me thinking, maybe I should get a Kobo. This is fucking terrifying. So this video is not only to flag that you might want to go and download your ebooks right now. You haven't got very long to go. I have been scrupulously downloading mine. Conveniently, you have to do them one by one. You can't just click a button and download them all together. So that's been fun. But the other reason that downloading ebooks is really important for people like me who love books, I'm just going to explain something really boring to you, but I'll be fast, I promise. So I used to work in ebooks. Ebook sales in the quickest way possible. Usually you would buy an ebook, usually in like a Mobi file or something, that's what they're called. And you would own that ebook, you'd own the file to it. It might have some DRM, some protection around it so that you wouldn't be able to like fuck with it too much, but it wouldn't have like a lot. It would just be like, here's your ebook, do with it what you will. Amazon, when they started selling ebooks, started essentially wrapping their ebooks in extra coding and making a different special Amazon file that could only be read on Amazon devices or Amazon apps, which is controlling enough, but like I could live with it. However, it was not illegal, and I don't think it is still illegal, I don't know, to break that DRM and use various different services online. Calibra is one of them, where you can break that coding, break that outer layer, and convert that file into a file that can be read on any device. So I could do it, I could download an Amazon book, do a little shibbity jiggity wizardy woo kind of vibes, and then put it on any device I wanted to and read it anywhere, as is freely my right as somebody who owns the digital object. That is no longer what is going to happen. So what you will need to do if you would like to keep the objects that you own is to download them onto your computer, like literally onto your computer, no cloud stuff, just onto your computer. And then in the future, if you'd like to, you'd be able to convert them to other systems so you can read them in other places, but at least you still own them. Now, why is this a problem? Because if you own a Kindle and you've bought the book, like why would that be an issue? Like you're always going to have Kindles probably, like who really cares? Well, Amazon has been known to occasionally remove books from their systems, and you as the customer have no rights to access those books if they decide that you can't have access to them anymore. No matter if you've paid for them, no matter if they're in your library, as soon as you connect to Wi-Fi, they will be deleted. In fact, so I've read, in 2009, they actually did take out 1984 and Animal Farm from their library for a little bit, saying they'd been mistakenly published. And of course, in more recent years, with the Roald Dahl post-mortem edits that I think were quite dystopian, made a whole video about that up here, they actually just updated people's ebooks of the Roald Dahl books to change the words in them without telling them. And I'm giggling, but that's because it's freaking scary. And not only because of those examples, but also because I've recently been seeing people on Instagram uploading videos of themselves in the US crying whilst driving to Barnes & Noble to buy copies of their own constitution, because after the Trump takeover, the Constitution came off the website for a little bit. There was literally like an error message being like, sorry, no access to the Constitution right now. We're making tweaks. We're making tweaks? We're making tweaks. Tweaks is how it begins. It raises the question to me as to whether we own our books. Of course, Jeff Bezos thinks that we don't. And it's really important collectively that we do. That's why I still have that massive shelf behind me. And I keep books like this around because I personally feel calmer when I have a record of what has been said. Sara Maitland is an amazing writer, and she wrote a book called Gossip from the Forest, and she talks about this idea of narrative loss. Not only when we lose our forests and our natural environment, we're losing something, but we're also kind of losing our stories, which is all connected if you think about it, because the books are made out of trees. She says, if we as a society lose access to dependable, sustainable and future-proof mediums with which to record our own narratives and document our own advances, we don't just risk an economic collapse, but a psychiatric one. Now, ebooks are amazing. I think they have literally changed the publishing landscape. On balance, for the better. It means that books can never go out of print, which is so exciting and wild and amazing. It means that books are more accessible and people can fuck with them a little bit and put them in different fonts and different colours and different sizes, so we don't have to just wait for the biggest books to be printed in big text for people who have eyesight issues. That's just one example of all the ways that it's more accessible. I think ebooks and the integrity of ebooks should be preserved. I'm very excited that bookshop.org, our Lord and Saviour, are going to start selling ebooks soon, so watch out for that. And it's also to be noted that books do decompose. Like, I was also thinking about the recent fires in the US recently and how people probably lost all of their physical libraries, but they still had the books on the cloud. So there is a balance there, I think. Books do decompose, I guess. But if we don't have laws and protections and we're not working with people who are on the same page about what kind of transaction we're having, we are going to lose some hope. I'm defending my hope at the moment with all of my might, but it's really taking a lot of butt clenching right now. So this is just a little message that if you have been a customer of Amazon, as many of us have in the past, and still own stuff on Amazon, it would be a really good idea to log on and download those now. There are some US links that I found, but it was a bit harder to find the UK links. I'll leave them below of where to find your books and download them. You can, of course, also think about switching e-readers. Kobos are great. I've always used secondhand Kobos. I just found like £30 ones off Vinted and they've been brilliant. They function exactly the same as Kindles as far as I can tell. And they also have all the new models with the colours and all of the, like, basically whatever Amazon is doing, Kobo's kind of doing it as well. But if all of this is starting to make the hairs on the back of your neck stand up a little bit and you'd like to back away slowly from Bezos altogether, you can also move your Goodreads to Storygraph. That's really easy. I made a video about that up here. And if you'd like to buy your audiobooks somewhere else as well, because as we have to remember, Audible is also owned by Amazon and they're also just giving you access to the books, you don't own them. You might want to switch to Zigzag, which is my favourite audiobook app. It's the same price as Amazon or cheaper, and there's no subscription model, and they're B Corp certified and they're nice, and they're literally just trying to make books better for everybody and put Amazon out of business, which is fast becoming a larger and larger priority in my life. The phrase that has been lingering in my mind recently has been this idea of planned obsolescence, which is of course used a lot with technology when they're saying, like, you know, we've designed an iPhone so it will break down in 2 years, so you have to buy another one. But when it also comes to planned obsolescence around software and our digital products, like planning to make sure that you don't have access to them in the future, or you have to rebuy them in some way, and also just generally like the planet, like what is the planned obsolescence that people are trying to build into something that should be able to last for a very long time, and they're trying to make it last for less time. time. More and more, I think our collective project has to be, what's the opposite of planned obsolescence? Planned infinity. Like, how do we preserve things a little bit? How do we protect and defend what is ours? Not in a land kind of way, in more of like a, how do we protect our own peace and our own hope and our own access to each other and our thoughts? That's what I'm thinking. I'm thinking about a lot about jars and pickling in a more spiritual sense. I hope that you're all okay. It is a little bit mad on the news at the moment. So please feel free to rant or leave some solidarity thoughts in the comments below. This video was made possible by the Gumption Club. And the only reason I'm able to make these ranty videos about Amazon is because of them. I don't need a sponsor on this video because of them. And they're also the reason I'm able to make videos like this about media issues that I think are really, really important, but might not be very sexy for the algorithm, but I think it's really important for you to know. Now, stop watching this video and go and download your bloody ebooks. Frog Snog out.